And it's happening again, just like I knew it would. Take a look at this story. More discrimination under the federal government. Federal judge says Biden restaurant fund discriminated against white male. Now, basically, this was his restaurant fund, which was to help restaurants that shut down because of COVID reopen again and get back on their feet. And when you think about how important that could be, if your restaurant shut down last year and you have a family, you may be struggling to feed your own kids. So something like that's really, really important. But some people originally wouldn't qualify. Which people? White men. Okay, so first of all, what am I actually talking about? This was Biden's Restaurant Revitalization Fund plan. Basically, it was a plan to give restaurants that closed down due to COVID or lost a lot of business in the shutdown due to COVID money and financial assistance to help them reopen and recover their debts and kind of get back on their feet. But it was written in such a way that white male restaurant owners didn't qualify. So a restaurant owned by a white male didn't qualify, or at least not for the first 21 days. And read this paragraph, and the 21 days is going to be an important point. It says, the SBA will prioritize funding applications from small businesses owned and run by women, veterans, and socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, which mostly means minorities, for the first 21 days of the program, according to the White House. After those 21 days, the applications will work at a first-come, first-served basis. Now, I know some people might use this video as an example of saying, oh, see, MRAs only care about white men, and it's a white movement in disguise, which is really nonsense because my very last, most recent video, which I'll link below, was about men of all races. And I've done videos about male issues that affect men of all races all over the world. It is that this particular issue happens to be specific to white males. So because it's a gendered thing, I'm going to make a video about it. And the racial element is part of the story, so I really can't avoid talking about it. So this is the original lawsuit earlier this month. Suit challenges restaurant aid priority to women, minorities. And keep in mind basically what this is. This is aid for people whose restaurants shut down because of COVID, getting money so they can live. And Biden defended it by saying, well, women-owned restaurants needed more help than male-owned restaurants. But when you look at that argument, it doesn't really make much sense. Biden has previously said that female-owned and minority-owned businesses have been disproportionately hurt by the COVID-19 economic crisis. But think about that logically. How does it make sense, though? If you have a city that had total lockdown or total quarantine and restaurants had to totally shut down, how would a female-owned restaurant be any more shut down than a male-owned restaurant? Why would it be somehow worse for her? Being totally shut down is being totally shut down. And if neither of them are making any income, then wouldn't they both need help to live now? But no, this law originally wasn't going to do that. It was going to say if you are a white male, and it doesn't matter what happened to your restaurant, it doesn't matter how much money you made before, it doesn't matter what your situation is, how many kids you have, doesn't matter, you don't get this help. Now, the way this was intended to work originally was that for the first 21 days, only applicants from these designated groups, such as women or minorities, were allowed to qualify. And then after 21 days, it would be open to anybody. But when you look at the numbers and the figures behind it, it really shows just how unfair it is. I'm going to show you that in a second. This is from the lawsuit. Okay, so this is from the lawsuit. Given the limited pot of funds, this puts white male applicants at significant risk that by the time their applications are processed, the money will be gone, the lawsuit states. Basically saying they'll be out of money and we'll get nothing. But take a look at these numbers here and pay attention, because you can kind of see what the problem is here and what the risk is. For the $28.6 billion program, the Small Business Administration, aka the SBA, announced Wednesday that women, veterans, and socially and economically disadvantaged business owners have applied for $29 billion through more than 147 applications. Now pay attention to this part. Payments totaling $2.7 billion have already been sent out to 21,000 restaurants, officials said. Now look at those numbers. $2.7 billion were sent out to 21,000 restaurants. So how much money went to each restaurant? To do that, you take $2.7 billion and divide it by 21,000, and you get $128,000. Now, 128,000 is the average. Some get less, but some get more. Take a look. Under the Biden Restaurant Relief Program, restaurant and bars can qualify for grants equal to their pandemic-related revenue losses, with a cap of $10 million per business and $5 million per location. Now, to me, something seems off and very unfair about this family getting 128,000, or maybe even up to 5 million, and this family gets zero, just because of the gender of which parent or which spouse happens to own the restaurant. And think about something that really kind of shows how stupid this is. Take two families, family A and family B, right? Both families are a husband and a wife with 2 kids, so 4 people. Now, in family A, the husband, the man, owns a restaurant. In family B, it's the woman, it's the wife who owns the restaurant. Let's say they have the same net worth, they live in the same city, they both lost their restaurants at the same time, or they closed down at the same time because of COVID, and are in basically the same situation with the same debt. Family B gets the relief. Family A does not, because family B happens to have a female owner, while family A happens to have a male owner. And to really show you how crazy this is, imagine a white man owns a restaurant, and he's married to a black woman. And they have 2 mixed-race kids. So 3 out of 4 of the people in that family are non-white. But still, that family wouldn't qualify. So it's perfectly possible that minorities and women are just as affected by this as white men. Because if the white man is the owner of the restaurant, any female relatives that he have and his children will also be affected. So if he's married to a black woman, she's affected too. It's just when you start discriminating by race and gender, you start doing all kinds of ridiculous things and you get ridiculous results because of it. And here's the thing, and this is why this video might end up being a 2-part video with an update in the next couple of days, because the SBA may have gone back on itself and white male business owners may be getting nothing at all. Take a look at this headline. You'll see that the program is shutting down in 2 days, on the 24th, exactly 3 weeks after it started. And of course, 3 weeks is 21 days. So if white males couldn't apply for 21 days and then the program ends after 21 days, does that mean they really can't get anything at all? It's kind of confusing. Take a look at their website here. This actually explains the deadline of how it works and the timeline of how it works. To the top, the priority period, days 1 through 21. If you read that, SBA will accept applications from all eligible applicants, but only process and fund priority group applications. And then down below, open all applications days 22 through funds exhaustion, meaning 22 days obviously is after 21 days. It's the day after 3 weeks. That's when it opens to everybody. And then it says SBA will accept applications from all eligible applicants and process applications in the order in which they are approved by the SBA. But it's confusing there. So what are they saying? Like, is it ending in 21 days or is it after 22 days everybody can apply? Because now they're saying it's shutting down after 21 days before that open period ever had a chance to even exist. Or is it that that's when they start processing this application? It's not very clear. I'm going to keep an eye on this to see exactly how it goes. But there's just something weird about that I'm going to keep an eye on. And it may be nothing. It may just mean that they're going to process everyone else. Well, everyone else is basically only white men after 22 days. And it's nothing. But I just thought that was weird the way that it was announced. So we'll follow it. We'll see. Maybe it's nothing. But either way, even if after 22 days, everyone else, which is white men, gets reviewed, they may have run out of money for some people, and some people may not get any help at all for them and their families and their business. And B, if you're facing bankruptcy, and if your kids are hungry, 21 days is a long time. So to me, I've linked everything down below if you want to read it. This is pretty scary because I was like, what's next? If the government is willing to openly discriminate against people based on how they were born, what else can they do? And the last point I want to make is this. Did they really have to do it this way? Like, if you read everything they wrote, all the articles on the website, they were very specific and very deliberate about making a very strong point to make sure that white men couldn't qualify. But was that really necessary? Like, who does that help? What is the point of saying white men can't qualify? And they might say, oh, well, it's because we want to help disadvantaged people. But why does that mean you can't also help white men? And who's to say that a white man who lost his restaurant because of COVID isn't disadvantaged? And it's just, when you think about what alternatives could they have had? Helping everybody, right? I mean, why not? And I guess I have a second last point too. Think about the workers, the servers, the busboys, the barbacks, the bartenders, all the employees of the restaurant. Their jobs depend on that restaurant being open. So if you're now saying, oh, well, these restaurants aren't going to be reopened because the owner is a white male, you're not just affecting that owner and his family, you're affecting all those employees as well, and maybe their families as well. So it's just a very stupid system, which racism and sexism is stupid. So when you do racist and sexist things, you get stupid results. Oh, and I have a third last point. If I was able to change your mind or make you think by bringing up the families, like the wife and the kids, and then the employees, like the servers and possibly female or minority servers or employees, and that made you go, oh, I see his point. Yeah, people who are not white men might be affected too. Notice how, if that's the case, you only started caring when it was non-white men being affected. So what does that tell you about how you see white men as human beings? So a white man being affected by starvation or poverty or losing his business, losing his home isn't enough?